All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, in this one, I wanted to focus in on just a couple of free agent names, right? We've passed the point of the NFL draft. We've passed the point of signing undrafted free agents. And there's now this next wave, right? The summer editions, if you will, where the Jets have actually made some pretty decent moves before in the past, right? You think of like guys like Morgan Moses, Quan Alexander, players like that. In this one, are the Jets going to be targeting any of these guys? Do they feel great about the roster as is? I think there are a couple of free agent fits, guys that make sense. Now, I guess let's start with this, right? The wide receiver position. There are two names that I keep on seeing thrown out there: Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, right? The logic is, hey, we have Garrett Wilson, newcomer from Georgia, Arian Smith with his blazing speed, which I'm really excited about. And, of course, there are concerns, objectively speaking, but, as a rookie coming into the NFL, especially as a day 3 pick, a 4th-round pick, there are going to be some concerns. I mean, there's concerns with first-round picks. So, I don't want to fully, give the keys to the castle to Arian Smith and say, hey, we're totally fine at wide receiver. We're good. We don't have a need there anymore, right? Obviously. But I'm excited about Smith's upside. Of course, again, you have wide receiver 1, Garrett Wilson. But outside of those two, right, it's a lot of question marks. And Arian Smith is a question mark, but Corley's a question mark, Gibson's a question mark, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Johnson, Alan Lazard. And so the thought process is, okay, well, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, both are longtime vets. Both, at one point in time were really, really, really good. Now they're up there in age. They're not going to be super, super expensive. And I think, both players, we have to ask the question, although on paper they might be upgrades on this Jets roster, would they come here? Right, I think especially in the case of Keenan Allen, this is someone who wants to go to a team that is in content. I mean, really, both of them, right? Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen, I think probably would ideally go to a team like the Baltimore Ravens or the, Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, Detroit Lions even, right? A team that has a lot of expectations this season, right? Teams that are projected to win, 12 games and make a Super Bowl push because these guys are so late into their careers. I believe Keenan Allen's 33 years old, 32, 33 years old or something like that. Amari Cooper, in his early 30s as well. He, of course, came out of the draft really early. If news breaks that the Jets are signing either one of those guys, of course I'm going to be thrilled, but personally, I don't think that those guys are probably going to be the targeted players. Now, of course, there is some logic. Hey, you want to get Justin Fields like a reliable weapon. You want to get, you bring in a veteran wide receiver to maybe teach some of these younger guys, show them the ropes, if you will. But at the end of the day, I think they're both, and this is just a straight assumption, but I think both of those players are probably going to have the Jets lower on their list of, favorable destinations. So with that said, let's talk about the first free agent on this list here. He's actually one of my favorite players in football, Julian Blackman, safety from the Indianapolis Colts. He's played down below in the box as a strong safety. He's played in the back end of a defense as a free safety. He's a pretty movable piece. He's 26 years old. He's durable. Playing in 29 games over the last 2 years, 86 tackles a year ago with 3 picks. Go back to 2023, 4 picks on the year. So 7 interceptions over the last 2 years at 26 years old. He's like entering his prime now. You're thinking about a potential Julian Blackman, Andre Sisco pairing. I do think there could be some logic here with saying, hey, let's go get 2 young safeties who haven't peaked yet. Both guys have been a little inconsistent over the course of their careers, but the good is very, very good, right? Obviously, Julian Blackman and Andre Sisco can play. They can be a difference maker, in my opinion, on an NFL defense. I think if you take Andre Sisco and you say, okay, what team needs a safety? Chances are he could walk into a decent amount of locker rooms in the NFL and say, I can start for you, and you're not going to have this tremendous dip or drop off in production. Julian Blackman, same kind of deal here. Now, if the Jets did sign Julian Blackman, I do feel like it would probably be a summer edition. Right, rookie minicamp has passed us by. We're maybe a couple days into training camp, and the Jets have worked directly with new 4th-round pick Malachi Moore. If there's potentially an injury, if he's not up to the standard that they maybe thought initially, and they're like, you know what, maybe a developmental role that third safety, that third go-to safety off the bench is probably the better fit. And now we can go bring in Julian Blackman, who's a definite starter in the National Football League. Pair him with Cisco. Now you're giving more time on the bench for a year. And then once you have Cisco and Blackman part ways in free agency, maybe you bring one back and then you plug Malachi Moore into the other starting spot. If, of course, things go well from a developmental standpoint. So I would be remiss to not bring up Julian Blackman. Again, a very solid player. Kind of has a knack for finding the football, a guy who's not going to shy away from contact either. I like the versatility. I like the durability for a team that I would say right now is pretty thin at the safety position. Next up, let's talk about defensive tackle. Now, I kind of felt like there were a lot of disappointed fans post-draft because it was like, hey, the Jets need a defensive tackle to pair up next to Quinnen Williams, like a big run stuffer, and this draft is really, really deep in defensive tackles, one of the better defensive D-tackle drafts I want to say in the last couple of seasons, and the Jets didn't come away with any of them. Now, they did scoop up Peyton Page, the defensive tackle from Clemson, who does kind of fit that mold, a very quick defensive tackle, but not much playing experience. But, ideally, you probably want to add at least one more body into the roster before the start of training camp. Again, injuries happen. As Jets fans, we all, see it, I want to say year after year, right? What happens if Derek Nottie goes down? We're going to need depth. We're going to need competition ahead of training camp with the brand new regime coming in. So there is a name out there who had to be fair, really disappointing season a year ago. It's Raekwon Davis from the Indianapolis Colts, a former second-round pick out of Alabama, someone who at one point in time had a tremendously high upside. The dude is absolutely massive. It's 6'7", 325 pounds, but he kind of is that interior run stuffer, right? 4 years with the Miami Dolphins, 1 year with the Colts as a kind of a backup depth piece. One of my favorite things about Davis, though, is he's scheme versatile. Right, 3-4 system, lines up right over the center as that nose tackle, 4-3, two gap, run stuffing defensive tackle, which you're kind of envisioning his fit with the Jets. It's Steve Wilks, it's Aaron Glenn. Could you have like a 3-man rotation with the run stuffing D tackles, right? With Raekwon Davis, Derek Nottie, and Byron Court from the Chicago Bears, who is another veteran addition, and just kind of rotate these 3 veterans in and out of the lineup, right? Maybe play the best one that looks the best in training camp. But all 3 of these guys are vets. All 3 of these guys have been a part of, they've seen a lot of football, right? One thing about Davis, too, he has over 40 starts, but has appeared in over, I believe, 80 career games, if my memory serves me correctly. So that could be a nice, cheap, buy low type of move with just this physical presence that's rare. I remember when he was coming out of Alabama, his pro comparison was DeForest Buckner, just this disruptive defensive tackle with incredible length and size. So next up would be more so a depth move, but I feel like it would be important for that individual room. It's Jordan Atkins from the Cleveland Browns at the tight end position. When you're looking at the tight end position, right, you got Mason Taylor. He's going to come in to be the starter, a high floor, athletic 20-year-old tight end with good hands, good route running. You kind of feel like he checks that box, right? Like this guy is going to be the future starting tight end and actually be a playable receiving threat at the tight end position. But you're taking a look at the rest of the room. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Zach Wilson's rookie year, right? Zach comes in, he's given the starting job. You're looking at the backups behind him, and there's really not much experience there. It's James Morgan, no regular season experience. Mike White, no regular season experience. You're looking at the coaching staff. It was a bunch of new guys. You have Mike LaFleur coming in running the show, and it's just a lot of youth. You're looking at the Jets tight end room, right? Tanner Engstrand, first year OC. Mason Taylor, he's instantly the tight end one on this, on the squad. You have Jeremy Ruckert, who's still a young player and developing. Stone Smart, young player and developing. Where is that veteran tight end? Where is that blocking tight end? Now, I'm not calling Jordan Atkins a blocking tight end, but I think he's decent enough in that role to where if the Jets want to maybe roll out, some plays where the tight end is blocking a little bit more, you're not putting all of this pressure on Mason Taylor to be the team's number one receiving threat at the tight end position and also number one blocker at the tight end position as well. And I think Atkins at 33 years old, been a part of two different organizations in the Houston Texans and the Cleveland Browns, has always been solid, always been reliable. He slides in beautifully as that tight end 2 on the roster, and then Ruckert and Stone Smart can battle it out for that third tight end position. But it would be a nice change of pace, a different sort of body type with Atkins being brought in. And I think the knowledge that he's learned throughout the NFL can really be a nice addition paired with Mason Taylor as far as his development goes, right? Taylor's development. Because right now, Mason Taylor walks in, there's just not a lot of experience, not a lot of success at that tight end position. And it's also not like Tanner Engstrand has, 15 years of NFL play calling experience where he's worked with just numerous tight ends, all different skill sets, all different, sizes and play styles. There's just a lot of inexperience there, and I do want the Jets to add a veteran tight end, even if it's not the most exciting guy who's going to snag, 60 catches next season. I think adding that veteran piece is really important, and Atkins, I feel like, would come in at a pretty cheap price. And last but not least is, again, another depth move here. I'm excited for the youth movement, right? I'm excited for a lot of these younger players to have opportunities. Again, we talked about Mason Taylor before, but Justin Fields is a young player. You got to imagine Arian Smith is going to be factored into this offense, young player. Mebu's going to get the start. Olu in year 2. Could Corley take a step in year 2? Jury's still out. But Gardner, right, how is he going to look in this press man system with Aaron Glenn? A lot of Jamie Sherwood taking over, big time contract handed out at the linebacker position. A lot of youth overall, the edge rushers. But we take a look at linebacker. If Jamie Sherwood were to get hurt in training camp, and again, this is, of course, a pessimistic way to look at it, right? No one wants to talk about injuries, but at the same time, you got to be prepared, right? The Jets have simply not been prepared to handle or deal with injuries to big name players or to starting caliber players over these last handful of years, right? Aaron Rodgers goes down. What do the Jets do? Absolutely nothing for a month. They don't even work out a quarterback, right? It's just like, where is the foresight? Where is that proactive approach? If someone goes down, who's the next man up? If Jamie Sherwood were to go down, I believe rookie late round pick Francisco Maaga would be the starting middle linebacker for this football team. Now you can maybe argue Jamin Davis, former first round pick who was brought back by this Jets team, definitely an option. But if the Jets want to play it safe with this new regime, maybe Jalen Reeves-Maybin, long-time depth piece at the linebacker position for the Detroit Lions, could make some sense. Be the coach on the field. I think it would be different if it was just Aaron Glenn and that's it, but he has so much experience with the Detroit Lions coaching staff as a whole. Steve Hyden on the offensive side of the football, Tanner Engstrand on the offensive side of the football. There was a decent amount of Lions coaches that came in. I think Reeves-Maybin could not only just be a contributor, helping out on the field for Jamie Sherwood and Quincy Williams as a backup sort of mentor style of role, but in the event that Sherwood goes down, we have a replacement. Boom, solid replacement. Also, big-time contributor on special teams as well. So, a cheap linebacker depth move. And look, these moves aren't earth-shattering. I totally get that. But I'm excited to see what these young guys look like in the brand new culture and the brand new systems and with the brand new coaching staff. So personally, I don't want to roll down the let's go with the older veteran routes at all these different positions of need. Let's just kind of handpick, right? News comes out, Jets sign Jalen Reeves-Maybin a month from now. Is that going to hurt the team? No. Is that going to provide depth? Yes. Is it going to provide knowledge? Yes. Is it going to provide a sort of, style of mentor for the linebacker position? Yes. Is it going to help out special teams? Yes. How much would it cost? 3-4 mil? One season? You're looking at that list of positives for that type of contract. That to me is a bargain. Same deal with, again, Raekwon Davis or Jordan Atkins. Julian Blackman's a little bit of a different story. That's more so if we start rolling into camp and it's just like, you know what, we really need some help at this spot. We just don't have the depth. We don't have the starters. let's go pluck Julian Blackman. We know he can pick up the system. We know he can go out there and play. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Who are some free agents that you're personally looking at? I can't wait to dive in. Anyway, thanks so much, and as always, go Jets.